Please welcome Donald Pollard.
Thank you very much. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for having this opportunity for me to stand here. I've always wanted this chance to tell this story. I want to start today from a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. And that quote is, "We but mirror the world, all the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. This is the divine mystery supreme, a wonderful thing that is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do." Now, over the years, that quote has changed a bit. You may know it as simply, "Be the change you wish to see." I am a father. I'm an educator. I'm a menswear designer, and I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a creative, a critical thinker, and a change agent. I grew up right here in Harrisburg, PA, and for as long as I could remember, my mother, who's in the audience, always said that I taught myself how to walk. And at the age of 3, I was often found next door at my neighbor's house drinking coffee. I received my formal education here from kindergarten all the way up to undergraduate school. And it was there that I started having these questions. I was an inquisitive child, and I was quite dyslexic. I often found peace and comfort in simply being alone. I fell in love with jazz at around the age of 5, and I collected fashion magazines for as far back as I could remember. The home that I grew up in was a loving, nurturing environment, successful 2-family household, no dog, no white picket fence, but I had a sister. But it was there that I learned 3 important things. See, I was always taught, you can, we support you, and most of all, we love you. As mentioned, I graduated from Bishop McDevitt in 1992. And at that time, I often had those questions. See, for the majority of my life outside of the home I grew up in, I was always rejected. I was always told no. Now, we can all agree that rejection is a part of life, right? But the rejections that I was faced with were always directly associated and correlated to my dreams, my passions, and my aspirations. Because whenever I had visions of doing anything outside of the norm, and I would share those visions with anybody outside of my immediate family, I was always told, "You think too broad. You're an idealist." And my personal favorite, "You're too deep." And I never could understand why they would say that. See, the difficulty of experiencing this was being faced with the uncertainties, the lack of trust, the inability to connect to someone. See, when I was coming up here in Harrisburg, there was no go-to person. There was no mentor. There was no one that I could simply bounce an idea off of. I didn't have anyone to guide me, and there was no one in my neighborhood that could help shape and mold my ideas and my aspirations from that aspiration to fruition. Now, I didn't know it then, but I definitely know it now. The home I grew up in, I was very blessed and fortunate. Because I knew what the sense of security felt like, I knew what love felt like, and I knew what support felt like. But the harsh realities of this world is not every home is created equal. And because of that, most of us growing up, we have a tendency to try to find those resources. Some of my peers found those resources in sports. Now, don't get me wrong, I played football and basketball, and I was pretty good. But that wasn't my end game. I had that inner voice in me, right? And my peers, they probably had that same inner voice in them as well, but because they too didn't see anybody in their neighborhoods that resembled their interests, well, they didn't listen. That, or they just simply followed suit. I didn't. I listened to my inner voice. And because my interests weren't based totally around bouncing a ball or scoring touchdowns, I left. I had my sights set on New York, and Brooklyn became my home for many years. Now, it wasn't New York City that I was most fascinated about. It was the people. It was the people in the community that developed programs for the youth, constructive programs. The constructive programs that taught the youth life skills, learning skills. Now, it was there that I felt a connection. It was a place where I felt that I belonged. Now, at an early age, yes, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to work in the fashion industry, and someday I wanted to become a college professor. Now, I just simply wanted to take the work that I was doing in the field and intersect that in the classroom. I wanted to be for somebody that I didn't have growing up. So since leaving Harrisburg, I've been blessed, I've been very fortunate to travel. And I've seen small cities all across the world that resembled Harrisburg. Cities that reminded me of Harrisburg's potential. Small, charming cities. But the thing that didn't remind me of Harrisburg was opportunity, options. Got me to thinking about those hard questions that I came up with when I was a young kid. Now, please don't misinterpret my words. I'm by no means bashing Harrisburg, nor Am I making unrealistic comparisons? I understand Harrisburg is not like New York. However, truth be told, I love this city, and I have love for this city. I have love for this city because of its potential. And it's that potential that I saw at an early age that spurred those hard questions. So what do we do? What do people like me? What do we do? Where do we go? Let's take a look at Gandhi again. Gandhi's quote stands as a reminder because it exposed me to so much. Therefore, I felt a sense of responsibility. I not only felt a sense of responsibility for my own happiness and pursuit, but I felt a sense of responsibility for my city. I felt like I was afforded the opportunity to travel and see the world and be exposed. And I wanted to come back and be that inspiration to some of you. Yet I realized in order to do that, we need to start having these tough conversations. And we, as citizens of Harrisburg, we need to start thinking outside the box. Because we need to start looking at the non-traditional opportunities, the non-traditional routes, and those non-traditional options that students like myself, we needed that. So I'll leave you with these three thoughts. Number one, I believe we need to create a sense of thirst, a sense of exposure. I think we need to start engaging with our kids at an early age and exposing them to things beyond the norm. I think we need to give them the opportunities at a very young age. Number two, invest in human capital. Like businesses investing in their employees through trainings and workshops and seminars, a city can do the same thing. We need to focus on bettering the neighborhoods that are striving the most. And number three, let's start engaging with each other. For example, did you know that Harrisburg has a sister city relationship with a very unique city in Israel? How awesome would it be to engage with that city, create programming for the students, share ideas, share resources? I'll give you another little known fact. Did you know Harrisburg had 34 colleges and institutions within a 50-mile radius? How many of those students that are exposed to these universities come back and give back? How often do we create the opportunities for them to share their ideas and give them a platform to speak? See, my work as Director of Business Development at Startup Home, what we do is we create co-living and co-working environments, sort of like an entrepreneurial hub, an ecosystem. So if you have a passion about something, you have an idea that you want to start, we help you build that idea through incubation services and mentorship programs to help you get started and get you along the way. Just like you don't like what you see when you look in the mirror sometimes, you go to the gym. Or when you're at home and you're looking at that outdated kitchen, you rebuild it, you remodel it. I left Harrisburg in search for a place of belonging. I left Harrisburg so that I can find comfort and acceptance. Together, we can inspire the change that we would like to see in this city for the future to come. Thank you so much.